home stretch we come in the Hoodwood. I'm KJ the Black Bandit. And for the final thought today, we're going to go on back to baseball. But before we hit the final thought, just for anyone who was curious, the coach before Jim Boeheim was Roy Danforth. I wonder if you knew that. And Boeheim served actually as a graduate assistant under him until he took over in 1976. Before Mike Krzyzewski, the illustrious Bill Foster, who actually took Duke to the 1978 national title game. But those coaches, long since forgotten at these schools, as their now legendary coaches have been at their posts for 42 and 39 years for Krzyzewski and Boeheim, respectively. Final thought today, or this week, is about baseball. Yes, I was talking about why was baseball starting before Easter, and I'm thinking of the things that can be done to improve the national pastime, get it back to where it was supposed to be at. One of the things I think should happen with baseball, besides starting at a reasonable time of the calendar year, why not have more fan-friendly starts? Have more Saturday afternoon games. Have more games that start at 1 and 2 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And not have so many late night games. Kids don't want to stay up late to watch baseball. Not like when I was a kid and had to negotiate with my mother to stay up late to watch World Series games. And then when we're talking about World Series games, why are World Series games starting at 8 o'clock? I mean, I know you want to have a national audience, but why not start these games at 7? Why not start them at 6? Why are all these World Series games being played at night? Why not have more of these games during the day? I remember as a kid sneaking and listening to playoff games that were during the day. First night game was played in the World Series in 1971. And Major League Baseball just couldn't get enough of the night games. Now, of course, there are a few the night games that you remember, and Game 6 of the 1975 World Series going late into the night. But games like that are few and far between. Really should not have games that are running way past midnight. Chicago Cubs clinched their first World Series title in 108 years well after midnight in Cleveland. Though Chicago partied all night after that, someone like me who had to get up the next morning with no rooting interest in either team was like, really? Midnight? But of course you had to factor in the rain delay to that too. One of the other things I would like to see in Major League Baseball to fix the problems in there is a quicker game. I know with this soundbite-driven generation, they don't want to sit still to watch a game that takes a leisurely pace and doesn't have a time clock. But what's wrong with having a time clock? Time clock between pitches? You have a time clock between innings? See the big clock that pops up? It's 2 minutes. Quick. The way they are doing the game now, trying to put a clock on the game, in some respects is good, but in some respects they're putting it in the wrong place. Limiting pitching changes and limiting visits to the mound takes away from the soul of the game, the strategy. And when we're talking about strategy, why not make the DH optional for both the American National League? Since both leagues are now playing each other in a constant cross rivalry, there's always an interleague game every day. Why not make the DH optional? There's some good hitting pitchers out there. You would know it, especially in the American League where the DH is seen almost like a crutch. Also eliminate these shifts. People always talk about shifting the infielders and outfielders, daring players to hit the other way. And players don't want to hit the other way, and they usually hit right into the shift. I think it's a cowardly way to try to avoid giving up hits. Also make more personalities in the game. You wouldn't know who the big personalities are in the game by watching it. Jose Altuve is probably one of the few players that you know as a player in Major League Baseball. Why? Because he's 5'6", one of the smallest guys in the game. Aaron Judge is one of the fast, young, rising stars of the game. Why do you know him? Because he's 6'7". But do you know any of the other big players in the game? Mike Trout, Bryce Harper, Giancarlo Stanton. Those may be fairly familiar names, but these days, you couldn't tell one player from the other, even with a scorecard. You couldn't tell who a Joey Votto is unless you lived in Cincinnati. You wouldn't be able to tell who a Brian Buxton would be unless you lived in Minnesota. There are no personalities in the game anymore. And that's sad because the soul of the game should be built on personalities. The soul of baseball is withering away. And that's a real sad thing. Well, the music slowly coming up in my ear. That means your time in the Hoodwood is just about done. Now, I appreciate comments. I'm all over the place. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter, KJ Green BB. Tweet me. You can email me at kjgreen@blackbanditproductions.com. Hit me up with an email, suggestions, show quality, show content, like, dislikes, suggestions for Fat Dap and Head Slap. I'll take them. I read all my email, and if you're not very careful, you might get read on the air. So I appreciate the criticism. I appreciate the listening. I appreciate the patronage. I will be back next week with more from the Hoodwood. I appreciate your patronage, and I will see you next week. Until next time, fellow sports fans.